Buy now, pay later. It sounds like free money, but it's actually a debt trap millions are falling into.
We are back down with a major change that could impact millions of people who shop using buy now, pay later.
You know, Tom, 15% of Americans used buy now, pay later last year.
73% of BNPL users have gone into debt because of these services. Today, we're exposing how companies like Klarna, Afterpay, and Affirm are psychologically manipulating you to spend money you don't have. Here's how it works. You find something online, maybe sneakers, headphones, or skincare, and instead of paying $120 now, you're offered 4 easy payments of $30. No interest, no credit check, no delay in shipping. You get the product today, and you pay later. It sounds harmless, even helpful. But behind the scenes, there's a growing system built not just to offer convenience, but to lock you into a loop. BNPL companies like Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, and Sezzle are becoming giants. In 2021, the global BNPL market was worth $120 billion. By 2026, it's expected to hit over $570 billion. That's not growth, that's explosion, and it's fueled by psychology. BNPL reduces something called payment pain. That's the mental discomfort we feel when we spend money. Breaking a $100 purchase into 4 $25 chunks tricks our brain into thinking it's less painful. Suddenly, $200 sneakers feel like a $50 decision. That's how people end up adding 3 more items to their cart. It's not just a behavioral trick. It's engineered manipulation. Platforms use AI to predict your spending behavior, optimize offer timing, and even adjust repayment dates around typical paydays. This isn't about helping, it's about hooking. And the effect multiplies when paired with fast fashion, flash sales, and limited drops. Add a countdown clock to a BNPL-enabled checkout, and the pressure skyrockets. You're no longer just buying a hoodie, you're reacting to urgency, fear of missing out, and a design engineered to bypass rational thought. Even more concerning is how these platforms have been woven into the checkout flow so seamlessly. BNPL isn't just a separate app anymore. It's built directly into online storefronts. Clothing brands, electronics shops, and even airlines now offer it at checkout as the default option. That default placement creates subtle pressure. Saying no to BNPL now feels like going out of your way to not take a deal. This model works especially well on Gen Z and millennials, digital-first shoppers who are used to immediacy and low friction. Combine that with influencer marketing and TikTok hauls, and you've got a perfect storm: social validation, instant gratification, and delayed consequences. Platforms sponsor influencers to post buy now, pay later hauls, videos showing how they bought hundreds of dollars worth of clothing or tech with zero upfront cash. These aren't financial hacks. They're advertisements dressed up as lifestyle content. But there's more going on behind the scenes. These companies collect a massive amount of behavioral and transactional data. They track what you buy, how often you miss payments, how long you hover on expensive products before checking out. And they feed that into algorithms that decide what offers to show you next. It's the Amazon model, but with financial leverage added in. Most of BNPL's money doesn't come from the user. It comes from the seller. Retailers pay between 2% to 8% per transaction to BNPL providers. That's more than a typical credit card fee. Why do they do it? Because users spend more, on average 20% to 30% more per order. That's the business model. Then there's the rest: late fees, penalties, and data. If you miss a payment, even by a day, you could be hit with a fee as high as $34. Do that a few times, and suddenly your free purchase just got more expensive than a credit card. Some platforms also link directly to your bank, so if the payment fails, you might get hit with overdraft fees on top of the late charge. And while BNPL companies say they don't always report to credit bureaus, that's changing. Miss enough payments, and your score could take a hit, often without you realizing it was even at risk. One of the biggest dangers? The illusion of financial flexibility. People who wouldn't swipe a credit card will use BNPL instead, because it feels safer. But that safety net is made of marketing, not math, and it gets darker. There are no standardized credit checks. That means users can open multiple BNPL lines across multiple apps, sometimes at the same time, with no one tracking it all. It's possible to stack 5, 6, even 10 active pay later accounts with no real oversight. Some people juggle one payment with another, borrowing from one service to pay another in an endless cycle. You think you're managing it, until you're not. One emergency, one missed paycheck, and you're buried under overlapping due dates. And it's not just theory. Real people are getting caught in this web. Credit Karma found that 40% of BNPL users have used the service to buy essentials like groceries or gas. These aren't impulse buys, they're survival purchases. And when people have to finance their groceries, something's wrong. LendingTree reported that nearly 1 in 3 Americans who use BNPL have missed a payment. And among Gen Z, that number is even higher. People who are already living paycheck to paycheck, who might not qualify for traditional credit, are the most vulnerable. And BNPL companies know this. That's who they target. In fact, internal memos from one major BNPL platform showed demographic targeting strategies focused specifically on lower-income zip codes and communities with limited credit access. There are users who have maxed out Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, all at once. They're juggling payments across platforms, not realizing they're sinking into a kind of digital layaway trap, one that doesn't always show up on a credit report until it's too late. And if you think this is just an issue for shopaholics or teens buying sneakers, think again. A growing number of BNPL users are using it for medical expenses, dental work, vet bills, auto repairs, rent, the list goes on. What started as a way to buy a sweater online is becoming a substitute for actual credit, without any of the protections, and the red flags are everywhere. When people start using BNPL to buy toothpaste and toilet paper, that's a crisis. When they can't remember how many pay later services they're enrolled in, that's not convenience, that's chaos. And when they're borrowing from one to pay another, that's not flexibility, it's a financial spiral, but it's marketed like freedom. The branding is pastel-colored, minimalist, youthful. It feels friendly, playful. Unlike credit cards, which feel formal and intimidating, BNPL apps make debt look like a lifestyle. The UI is so clean it hides the trap. And the reminders aren't warnings. They're cheerfully designed notifications. Hey, your next payment is due. As if they're helping you out. So what can you do? First, treat BNPL like what it really is, debt. Because no matter how soft the branding looks, a missed payment is still a missed payment. Set hard limits. Know how many accounts you've opened. Don't stack purchases. Don't use it for essentials unless you absolutely have no other option. And always, always, read the fine print. Better yet, build a small emergency fund. Even a few $100s in a high-yield savings account can save you from falling into the trap of splitting a $60 grocery bill into 4 payments that end up costing you $90 after fees. And finally, support regulation. Some countries are already moving to classify BNPL services like credit cards, with standardized disclosures and repayment protections. But in many places, including the US, the rules are still catching up. Until they do, it's on us to stay vigilant. This wasn't just about BNPL. It was about how debt hides behind design and how easy it is to fall for it. Stay sharp. Catch you in the next one.